Alright, as we did have a little bit of a break there in between the ABD and INS game, and now we are straight into the JJT and INS game. INS here, unfortunately, not being able to pick up the win in the last game will cause them to first ban Victor inside of this game. Or not Victor, excuse me, I can't see champions, Nocturne. As we are going to hop straight back into this one. JJT themselves having a little bit of a struggle this season, sitting at, I believe, 1-3 currently, looking to make their record a little bit more stable, as that those 2 wins will guarantee them that 6th spot, which will guarantee them for playoffs. As we'll have to see how this game turns out. As once again, I am Stu, and I'm joined by Rocket this time, and we'll see how the cast goes today.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, and hopefully I don't stumble over my words like last time. Well, we'll see. The Lulu band from that's Jujutsu
Jujutsu,
Tech.
yep.
Yeah, Jujutsu Tech, and that's actually going to be a pretty safe ban against So Majestic and Taco since both of them play it, and they're both going to be protecting Vang since he is arguably one of the better players on the team. And then we do see the Silas ban on the side of World Enders, something not Silas and Nocturne because there are just 2 champions that they couldn't deal with against ABD, so it's just better to ban them out and hope you can play around them a little better this time.
Yeah, as you see, the first pick Xin Zhao, not a champ that is completely immune to counter picks, but does have a very strong standing in the meta currently. As we'll have to see what INS look to answer with. Their R1 and R2 from the last game was not as strong. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to rectify it for this game. As the Gwen is available, Bri has been known to pick it in the past. I wouldn't be surprised to see him pick it up
Gwen was
right now.
actually banned by
Just kidding.
JJT.
Yep, you're absolutely right. As we get to see Bry's set instead, this is another one of the champions that he's super comfortable on, and we'll have to see if he's going to be able to have a strong performance. As Matt here is still mulling over what he is deciding to pick.
Yeah, set possibly a flex pick because you could play a top mid support, not so much as usual, but you still could play a support because Taco has been practicing it before, and it's going to be a very good pick. Lee Sin picked on the side of INS, probably going to be jungle, so that set top is most likely a very good pick top lane anyway because it goes into Godslayer Zed's tank. Champ will very well playing against the Shen and the Auron very often. It's going to be very good against it.
Yeah, and it's a nice R1 and R2 from INS, able to pick 2 picks that are pretty easily flexed. It's not too awkward to see like a Lee Sin top and then a set mid. As we do see the Ezreal was left open and it will be picked away by Jujutsu Tech as they're looking to hover this Jace. Jace being one of the more familiar matchups in the set. It is a pretty good matchup for Jace. So we'll have to see if he is looking to pick it up as they are just gonna hover it here for just a little while longer. But if they
Yeah,
do
both of
pick
them
it
are.
up, yep, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, both of them are actually pretty safe picks. Well, Ornn also a very safe pick for Godslayer Zed, and Ezreal a typical AD carry that can be played in any bot lane, and it's just going to be it's like be able to play the comp and have to work around with that Jin Zhao.
Yeah, and fortunately enough for INS is still pretty good for set able to just body slam the Ornn into the entire enemy team as we do see Vang's Caitlyn come out. I know he was practicing this in ranked before this game, and he has been pretty proficient on this champion so far, so we'll have to see if he's just gonna drop Caitlyn completely, as they're going to ban out the Rakan, targeting whose champion pool, as his Thresh still is open as well as his Pike. Those are his 3 most comfortable champions, and we'll have to see if INS are going to choose one of them to get rid of. As the Lux will get taken away, as they're going to target both Willow's and Taco's pool and see if they're going to be able to kind of limit them in that factor. As INS do have their last ban here, and we'll have to see what they are looking to pick up with it.
I'm expecting some sort of support ban because typically Vang plays Caitlyn and Majestic would play bot lane together, and I think they play the Caitlyn Yumi pretty often. So seeing that they banned Leona's probably look like they're gonna actually pick that Yumi, trying to have a safe matchup that they could just lane safely.
Yeah, and we'll have to see what it looks like. Leona is one of the strong counters to Yumi. Just being able to CC your ADC to the point it doesn't matter if he's getting healed, he is just getting absolutely destroyed. As we do see the Karma band away, once again targeting Taco and Willow. So JJT here really doing their homework, targeting away these champions, and should kind of force them into a little bit more of awkward composition. As we'll have to see what they want to pick. It will be the Nautilus Hover, and it will be the Nautilus picked up for INS.
Yeah, NS has a strong front line right now. They have the lace in for the dive and the mispositioning, and then the set can possibly re-engage if they ever decide to just if the Ornn gets a little too hasty and goes a little forward into the team, and Caitlyn's just there to free hit. So now they're looking for some AP damage mid, possibly, or some. It could be the Lee Sin mid and probably look for AP jungler, but the likelihood of that seems pretty low. The Thresh is locked in as a pick for JJT against Nautilus. Is going to be a very strong pick because you could pull your AD carry, who was also very safe already out of team fights with lanterns, but you could always have that re-engage of the lanterning in that Shin's out and pulling onto that Nautilus just counters his CC with more CC.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how versed these two characters or these two players are on this matchup. So the last pick for JGT will be this Akali. Has been kind of terrorizing solo queue and pro play recently, really having a lot of success. As talking about this bot lane, the Nautilus Thresh interaction is something that every Nautilus and Thresh player need to know, as they both have very specific timings that they need to do in order to kind of win it on their side. And we'll have to see if both of these players are aware of it. It will definitely be interesting to see, as the Syndra is hovered. This is one of Willow's comfort picks in the mid lane, and it is a nice little AP damage. Syndra unfortunately being a little weak in the meta right now, but we'll have to see how it works out inside of this composition, as it will be that set top and the Lee Sin jungle for INS. And we can see, a nice little stable team composition out of them. They've got some clearly defined front line, some nice AP damage and some nice AD damage, and they do scale decently well. And I think JJT have a little bit more of kind of a skill expression composition, especially with the Ezreal, the Akali, and the Xin Zhao. If they're able to get the ball rolling and get any one of these three fed, it could be spelling disaster for INS. So they'll have to play this pretty well, make sure they're not going to be bleeding too much inside of this game. And we'll have to see if they're going to be able to learn from their mistakes versus ABD.
Yeah, JGT looking like not JGT, sorry, INS looking a very back to basics team, and the JGT looking like a very ego team. So they have to navigate around the typical team fight and hope that Set, Nautilus, and Lee Sin aren't too much of a problem, where Akali can find the back line of that Syndra and Caitlyn, and then Xin Zhao can actually enter and keep the front line on. But looking at it, I believe INS does have the winning team.
Yeah, I would also agree with you that INS do have somewhat of a winning team composition. We'll have to see how the execution works out, as we will be going ahead and launching into the spectator delay. We'll see you guys in 3 minutes. Don't go anywhere. You are watching the KDL.
There's no time for redemption. Those flags you wave, will they hold up? Don't cry for your vengeance. It's right there to take. Oh, if you want it, the world is watching. Here's your judgment. Here's your reckoning. I'll write your story down. Enter history. Pride and country. You could have everything. So bring home the glory alive. Go and rise for your nation. There's so much at stake. Will you show up? Oh, it's about damn time for a little salvation. Those flags you wave represent them. The world is watching. Here's your judgment. Here's your reckoning. I'll write your story down. Enter history. Pride and country. You could have everything. So bring home the glory alive. Here's your judgment. Here's your reckoning. So go and bring home the glory alive. Here's your judgment. Here's your reckoning. I'll write your story down.
All right, we are going to be go ahead and coming back from our spectator delay, and don't worry, we are loading into the game, and we'll go ahead and switch us over once we are fully loaded in. But like we talked about before the delay, we do have some interesting compositions coming out from both of these teams. A little bit more of a skill expressive composition coming out of Jujutsu Tech, and we do have a little bit more of a safer, kind of basic, something that you would be able to learn off of composition coming out of INS. And both of these teams really desperately want this win. If JJT are able to pick this up, then they will secure their place for playoffs without having to play any tiebreakers. And if INS are able to secure this win, then that does mean that they are pretty much guaranteed playoffs, but they will have to make tiebreakers. And just one more win in their pocket will mean that they are going to be able to get into these playoffs. So both of these teams really playing for the line here, and we'll have to see how both of them are able to shape up inside of this game.
I believe that JJT potentially has to play a tiebreaker if they win this game if C's wins against ABD. So I, there's potential for another tiebreaker, but this secures a good amount of points over them, so they don't have to worry about it. But it's still there, still potential.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily guaranteed as I might have said, but it does put the ball more in their court where they pretty much just have to wait to see how Cease is going to perform, as who will forget his items, unfortunately. I will call that out, and he will be going back to base and grabbing them and coming back very quickly, as looks like no shenanigans, excuse me, coming around this time around, as both of these teams just moving into a little bit more of a standard 5 point and making sure the enemy team is not going to do anything too crazy.
Yeah, it looks like there's gonna be a pretty basic loadout. I think the late highlight of this game is probably going to be that Syndra versus Akali, because that's probably really what's going to matter the most in this game. Because bot lane and is going to be a very safe lane. It's just a matter of them playing out and hoping that the Lee Sin comes bot and can counter gank any Xin Zhao kind of plays with that lantern. And if the Syndra is able to win her lane and kind of influence the team a little more, it's going to be all the much more important that they could match that Xin Zhao and Akali roams.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be interesting. Inside of this lane, I think a lot of these lanes have a lot of neat little things inside of them. Syndra and Akali lane, it is really going to be Syndra trying to attach Akali to the lane, making sure that she's not going to be able to leave and roam bot or roam top potentially. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. And like we pointed out in the champ select, this Nautilus Thresh interaction is something that both of these support players should know. This is something that is pretty common inside of the bot lane, but they do have specific interactions with each other that they need to work out, and more specifically the Caitlyn and Nautilus interactions. Caitlyn, if she's played with enough Nautilus, should be able to just place the trap under his hook and understand where the hook is going to leave the enemy champion, but if she's a little bit rusty, then it will be a little bit harder for her.
Yeah, and there's always a little bit of a window because immediately the Nautilus can pop that auto attack to have that extra root and chain CC anyway. So there is a bit of a leeway, but what really matters is how the Thresh and the Nautilus hook interactions work, because the Nautilus still is able to get stunned by the Thresh, even though the hook does get priority from whoever goes second, I believe.
Yep, and it will be interesting to see as Taco here is able to pick up the level 2 first, as Who here is forced to flash Flates forward, a little bit expecting to get hooked there, but as a nice little flash, and that will be a flash advantage for INS. Things are already going better for them this game than they were in the last one.
Yeah, they have a commanding level 2 over the top lane and bot lane, and they're able to poke him out, and hopefully that they kind of just take this extra advantage and then just bleed them out and make sure that the Thresh is punished for everything that he tries to do, and the same thing for the Ezreal.
Yeah, we can see Caitlyn here already having a nice little farm lead. Ezreal still does have the minions to pick up. He will be able to catch up a little bit, but even if he catches all of these perfect CS, he's still going to be down 4 CS. So a nice little farm lead building up, as you can see a similar vein in the mid lane. And Bright here trading pretty aggressively with this Ornn. Fortunately for both of these players, they do have their junglers here in the top side. It will be interesting to see if either of them intervene, as the Scuttle Crab is spawning. Mid does have priority in favor of INS, so we could potentially see a fight. As Daniel here goes on top of Matt, we'll have to see the smite comes out from Matt. Daniel here looking like he still has his own smite, and Matt will be forced off. And he should immediately path towards his bot crab, but wants to stay for the top crab. A little bit of an interesting play, so we'll have to see if he's able to get it. No smite, and is not able to get it. Akali is moving first. Set does not have priority. Matt forced to flash. Akali flash. E, take it, do it. As she will be able to secure, and that will be first blood going over to Daniel.
Yeah, it looks like she was waiting for that E just to make sure that even if he does W over the wall that he should be able to follow. But bit of an interesting play because you know that you did had to smite to get that crab so that you wouldn't get bursted by the Shinzao in that first engage, and I don't know why you'd probably turn around for that. Probably an ego check sort of, and think that you're Lee Sin and you do way more damage than him. But Hail of Blades Shinzao is nothing to mess with.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting play coming out from Matt. Definitely not one of his best, but he is going to be put behind a kill and will get double crab. This is kind of, just I think Terab just said in the chat, he's got blabbered. It's such an unfortunate scenario. Had to blow flash for Scuttle Crab, and it's just a tragic scenario for Lee Sin. Going to be put behind on an already kind of awkward pick in the jungle. Lee Sin having a lot more presence in the top and mid lane nowadays. And we'll have to see how he's able to do it, as importantly enough, I think we missed it. The directed camera kind of ignored it, but there was a 2v2 in the bot lane, and Caitlyn was forced to use her heal and forced to back. And we'll have to see if Taco is going to be able to stop this wave from crashing. It looks like not, and Caitlyn here going to be denied a lot of XP.
Yeah, and the Thresh I believe had to use his ignite as well there, and that's going to be a huge, huge summoner spell usage because now Nautilus does have that exhaust and kind of hooks that Thresh on the turret, and it's just not able to do anything though.
Yeah, and we can see that there is going to be a ping coming out in the top lane, and we'll have to see how it's going to go. As Ornn here forced to flash, Xin Zhao is coming around the long way, but Ornn here changing his pathing does mean that the members of INS are going to be able to come up. Xin Zhao here looking like he wants to go forward. Surely they could just turn on top of him, but INS deciding not to, picking a little bit of a safer route.
Yeah, bit of a weird read. They missed the kill on the Ornn and wasn't able to get the extra execute damage to kind of secure the kill before the Shinzao appeared. And Shinzao being so far ahead, any kind of a presence in lane is just not something that Lee Sin wants to deal with, even if he does have that red smite.
Yeah, and Lee Sin here just going to go back to farming. Xin Zhao here sitting comfortably. What is that, 7 CS above him, and looking to clear camps at similar times. Both of these junglers should empty out into bot at similar times. Lee Sin will be able to get there first. And we'll have to see if they're going to look to make anything happen, as the bot lane of INS will reset. The top lane here kind of frozen on the side of Brock. It is pretty fat, and he is going to have to trim it, but he could potentially hold a freeze on this side of his map and make Ornn not a very happy human being, as he will not be able to farm that. But we'll have to see how it goes, as Ornn here is looking like he wants to shove it in, but not exactly able to just yet.
It's pretty important that the Ornn actually gets that shove in, because he doesn't have TP, whereas Bryce still has TP. So if they try to force a bot lane fight for that dragon, which it seems that JJT has priority for already, and INS just doesn't seem to know, they would have the TP, but in this case it didn't really even matter.
Yeah, and INS, I think because of the reset timing of bot lane, decided they weren't going to go for it, but hold that thought, as Bry here flashes forward, gets a nice little dunk into the tower, into a nice little W coming up from him, and this is going to be a solo kill for Bry. And Ornn here, the wave is still frozen in front of his enemy's tower, and he's just so depressed. So Nautilus hook will go forward. They look like they want this fight. I'm not sure exactly what they do. The hook goes forward, and Nautilus here has no flash, has no exhaust, is almost surely going to die to that ignite. As a nice little trap there from Caitlyn will mean that she does able to pick up that Thresh, but unfortunately Ezreal able to go forward and pick up the kill on Caitlyn. As a non-stop fighting happening throughout the map, we can see Lee Sin here taking a nice little chunk from Ezreal. We'll have to see if he's able to go in. Looks like he's going to opt out of it, missing the Q. And a little bit of an interesting play for INS. They were able to pick up 1 kill in return, but that is still a 1 kill advantage for JJT. As another big missed wave from Caitlyn, falling very far behind in XP.
Yeah, Matt walking in for that Ezreal is still going to be a very brave fight, because that Ezreal is level 6 and he's not level 6 and doesn't have that dragon kick to kind of knock him back into turret, and even then Ezreal would have his Synth Flux and be able to dive back into the turret anyway.
Yeah, and we'll have to see, as this mid lane matchup going a little bit awry, as Syndra really should have much more priority over this Akali and should be able to poke her out, but Akali here having a nice little CS advantage against the Syndra, and is kind of able to bully her, as unfortunately enough for her, the wave is frozen. As the flash comes out from Hu, nice little lantern as well will bring the jungler to Taco, and Taco here just dead once again.
Yeah, a bit of a weird forward walk from Nautilus there, trying to get the ward, not knowing where anyone on the team is. The Lee Sin reacting way too late, and the Thresh Lantern being that so strong as it is, pulling that Shinzao, always being there, just was too much pressure for INS to deal with.
Yeah, and the directed camera took us away from that fight in the mid lane, but Akali was able to pick up the kill on top of Syndra. I mean, you see Daniel here in the bot lane. It is a 2v3, so Lee Sin and Caitlyn should not be able to make too much happen here. They should be looking to trim the wave and kind of deny JJT the ability to impact the lane. As the kick will come out, or excuse me, the Q will come out, and we'll have to see. Nautilus is hex flashing over the wall. They're looking like they want to keep going, but with Akali in mid lane, surely they will not take this fight. As never mind, they will. The lantern comes out. Nautilus gets hooked once again, and they realize that he's dead as the TP is coming out. A little bit of a questionable TP, as JJT will just firmly walk away, and this should be a nice little 1-0 kill in favor of JJT.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like anyone's on the same page, where I think Nautilus is looking for the plays where and Matt's just like, I can't really be too sure about what's going on, and now it's just going to be life for life. Well, life taken for free, and it's going to be unfortunate for INS trying to rebuild the lead that they had bot lane.
Yeah, and INS falling firmly behind once again. We saw it in the ABD game, and we'll see it again in this game as they are sitting 3k gold down. Bryler as well forced to use his TP for something that ultimately couldn't even make happen, so a little bit of a feels bad play as Orange TP will be up, and JJT should be looking to pressure around the map with that TP advantage. Can potentially look to make a gank happen on this bot lane or in this mid lane, and we'll have to see how they look to abuse that TP advantage. We do have the Rift Herald currently still standing, and the Ocean Dragon coming up in just under 2 minutes.
Yeah, that Ocean Dragon is going to be pretty important because it's just going to be extended fights and longer lane sustained for Akali and Orange, so now they can stay longer and kind of force the setback. But hopefully, and if they do get that, it's going to be either just make them too strong to be staying in lane, or have to force them out, or trying to really make those plays to kind of make sure that Akali can't stay and get those roams on.
Yeah, and we'll have to see as Lee Sin is hovering around in mid lane here. He's potentially looking to make a play on Akali. The Q will come out, the E will come out from Akali, and that will allow her to just make the distance that she needs. As Set here cancels his recall. Oh no, that is almost certainly disaster. As he cancels it right in front of these two, and that is going to cost him his life. As if he had just channeled his recall, he would almost certainly be alive. As the ultimate comes out from Zinzao, but he does dodge the W, and that will mean he is able to get away for now. And we'll have to see if Zinzao will be able to punish this timing.
Yeah, that Shinzao really ulted for no reason, it seems. Forgot to get the challenge on there, so it ended up knocking the set away anyway. Just kind of bringing him to safety. A bit of a weird play. The Shinzao should be moving bot side though, and trying to make sure that since their bot lane is stronger, trying to get that priority in bot lane to get that dragon. And it looks like he did.
Yeah, and we can see that Zinzao immediately resets and paths toward bot lane. Thresh there playing smartly enough to realize that if he did take that hook, it would be a man advantage in favor of INS. As Set here getting a nice little shot on top of Ornn. Remember, Ornn does have that TP advantage, so if we do see a fight around this dragon, Ornn will almost certainly be showing up. And the members of INS here looking like they're just going to go back to farming. As the Thresh Lantern comes out, he does hook, and unfortunately he does miss on top of the Nautilus. But almost another repeat of that gank that happened to Nautilus. And Zinzao here having just so much free real estate is able to exert so much pressure on the map, and he's just going to clear this vision from INS.
Yeah, awkwardly, INS is forced to recall, even though they have nothing really to lose here, and they should be trying to walk up with the Lee Sin to try and contest this. They are a bit weaker, but if they can find a pick early on that Ezreal or on the South, they should be able to contest this dragon, but they just gave up every sort of pressure they had on it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and unfortunately again for INS, we do see the Mountain Dragon rolled for the final dragon, so we'll be having a Mountain Rift. And if you're if you are Jujutsu Tech, you are really thanking the Lord for this Mountain Dragon. Ornn with the extra armor and MR is just so big again on the Thresh as well. And on top of all of these champions, it does make them tankier. And on the side of INS, it really doesn't do too much. So it is an unfortunate dragon for them to roll, and we'll have to see if it will impact the game.
Yeah, they're going to really have to rely on their percent health damage, where it seems like the set's going for the Bork, and they do have the set Q, but there's no sort of percent health damage that would kind of bring that Ornn down. So it's going to be trying to secure this, trying to make sure the lead doesn't get blown up too far by the time to get that drag. So hopefully they could kind of close out and find if they could make some plays.
Yep, and making plays they are, as Ornn here channels the Forge God. As Set here uses the R smartly to do a lot of damage, as he will flash away. Oh, Daniel gets kicked into the tower, but unfortunately it's not enough. Lives with a sliver of HP. As Set, oh no, what are you doing? The flash coming out from Ornn, who here will take up the tower shots and smartly gets 2 kills in favor of JJT. We see the TP coming out. Oh no, so sad for INS as even across the map they're not able to make anything happen. But hold that thought as Akali is down here knocking on Caitlyn's number. And Caitlyn doing her best to get away, has the flash, has the heal, the shuriken will go on top of Nautilus. We'll have to see if Akali will take it. Looks like he's going to decide against it. Does mean Syndra is going to be able to shove in the waves, and Zhao is there to catch it inside of the mid lane. And it won't be too much loss for JJT, but it will be 2 deaths lost for INS.
Not really trying to be a little heads up that Orin trying to get that TP in, but really just kind of gave away that Akali gank because Akali did not show on the map since INS has no vision in river at all. A bit of a giveaway there.
Yeah, a little bit of a kind of a blaring red sign. Hey, we're coming to gank you. As Thresh here is looking like he wants to take this, he will lantern and oh, okay. Lee Sin there is forced to flash over the wall. We'll be able to secure the blue buff, but it is a nice little flash, and that does mean that Daniel will most likely be able to take away this Gromp and potentially more. As Hu is just doing every support's wet dream of just bullying this Lee Sin, making it so awkward for him to do his camps. He's just getting pressured so much. And unfortunately, the laners of INS not really able to help, as they will almost certainly lose any kind of fight that they take within this jungle.
Yeah, that pressure of that Xin Zhao and Lantern combo, just being able to move around the map and get the Xin Zhao going and punishing every single movement that Lee Sin makes, and that's really what was going to be the play for JJT Tech this game, because that synergy between bot lane and jungle is going to be really what gets mid going, gets what bot going, and top, although it's an island, it still can be able to be there to make plays.
Yeah, and INS not having nearly... Ooh, okay, a little bit of a miss here. Happens sometimes. Happens sometimes. It's alright, as, you know, they're not having nearly as rough as a game as versus ABD. I think they were around down maybe 8k at this point versus ABD, and now they're only sitting around 3k, which is perfectly manageable if they are able to play smart. You know, things not really going their way currently, but if they're able to pick some smart engagements in the future, we could potentially see them coming back, as we do have Mountain spawning in just under 2 minutes. And Rift Herald currently active on the map, but Thresh is just so far ahead in this bot lane with Ezreal that he's able to just never be in lane, constantly exert pressure on the map, bully the jungler. Now he's bullying the mid laner, just showing in this lane, and is really having just kind of a free real estate all across the Summoner's Rift, as Nautilus here is potentially looking to make a play on top of this Ezreal. It looks like he's going to decide against it, as they do see the members of Akali and Thresh walking down to contest.
Yeah, it's going to be up to bot lane to make that kind of proactive play, because Lee Sin is too far behind. They do get the dragon kick out, and Lee Sin tries to get away and does successfully get away, and Xin Zhao just has complete priority over that Rift Herald. And now it's up to the bot lane to kind of make plays against Ezreal and kind of lock him down. And it seems like Akali is going to face check that Nautilus, but they both decide that it is not worth the fight.
Yeah, and both players, they're smart, realizing they don't really have the ability to kill the other person. You know, Akali maybe could have killed the Nautilus, but then Syndra would walk down and she would almost certainly lose her life, and realizing that giving Syndra that gold is probably not ideal. As you can see, Sin's out here just on top of the Rift Herald, clearing it pretty quietly, as Set here is pushed up. Could potentially see a gank afterwards, as he is going to try and shove this wave in. The members of INS stepping a little far forward, as another Lantern comes out. The hook comes out from Thresh. We'll be able to land on top of this Nautilus. Nautilus will flash forward. The True Shot Barrage going way wide, as the TP is coming out in favor of INS. Nautilus there deciding to go out rather than in. The Gale Force will pick up Thresh, but the members of INS are tracking the rest of JJT. And the jungler not being here, we can see the Thresh hook, or excuse me, the Nautilus hook coming out on top of Ezreal, but Ezreal being able to use the Arcane Shift and get away. And this is a nice little timing where INS could potentially look to get this dragon. Xin Zhao spotted in the mid lane, they do have the Rift Herald, and it is going to cost them that mid tier too. Someone should reset on the favor of INS in order to stop this from happening, but it looks like they're just going to let it go, as they are opting to take this mountain dragon instead.
Bit of a false equivalence there, because now top lane is managed to get taken by Ornn, and then I believe Rift Herald did get that third charge. I'm not quite sure because Lee Sin's icon is over it, but getting the third charge would have been huge. Brybreak unfortunately getting caught out by the Xin Zhao and walking in his own jungle, not realizing he doesn't have that free mobility around there because they don't have that mid inner or top outer.
Yep, as the QE will come out from Syndra, there will be a lot of damage on top of Hu, forced to pop the Shurellas, as Ezreal will tank the Caitlyn ultimate, and Ezreal forced to use his heal as well. A little bit of an overstep there from Hu, and it will cost him his Ezreal's heal and his Shurellas, and we'll have to see INS not really get too much out of it, but it is nice to know that they still have signs of life, still able to punish when the enemy team is making some mistakes, as they really need to clean up the mistakes of their own and kind of get their head back in the game and get back onto the proactive side of this game.
Yeah, the team that's members of INS that are ahead is Syndra. Well, not ahead, but still in the game, with their counterpart. It's going to be Syndra and Caitlyn. They're trying to stay ahead, trying to be in the game, make sure that they could be that source of DPS for the Nautilus and the Set frontline. But Set, unfortunately, not strong right now because he has that Bork and doesn't have that HP. Deciding to go starting Dorn's Blade instead.
Yeah, and it's a little interesting to see, the itemization that we've seen. Caitlyn actually being just up 200 gold on this Ezreal, so bot lane not going too terribly wrong for Kenny, but this mid and top laner is really where the difference is starting to show. As Nautilus here wants this fight on top of who maybe overstepped again. He will pop the Shurela's, will pop the hook on top of Nautilus, and we'll have to see if INS will get punished. It's looking like a 4v4 is coming out. Matt here going on top of Xin Zhao, and we can see the TP coming out from Akali. INS are getting all 4-man True Shot barrages. They're getting absolutely whammed and slapped on top of this, as Akali still has R2. Almost certainly means her death, as she's forced to R2 backwards. And 4 members of INS dead, and it's looking like JJT want to do the Baron. They have the Ezreal, they have the Xin Zhao. There is definitely possible for them to do this, as Syndra, which is in the bot lane.
Yeah, a bit of a desperation play from Vang. They're going for that kill, force forward to secure a kill on the Ornn. Not really worth it in the end. Although, no, he did get 2 kills. He did get 2 kills for the one actually, so it is kind of worth it.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, Akali had her R1 already cast. She had the R2 ready. You were almost certainly dead. I can respect the attempt to try and get as many kills as possible, knowing that you're dead. And that does mean that their Baron take is slightly slower, and it is going to mean that they do have more time to kind of reposition while the members of JJT look to reset. And it's going to be interesting to see how they try and deal with this, as Ornn actually TV'd into the box, and the Shurela is coming out from Thresh. We can see Syndra here almost certainly dead, forced to blow, or flash, excuse me. As Ornn will get the slow on top of her, the Scatter of the Weak will be able to stop any further attempts, and Syndra here able to successfully get away, getting a TP for a flash, so not too bad, but definitely not where you want to be.
Yeah, just also another unfortunate byproduct of Syndra going Ignite over TP here. You go for the kill lane, but you can't find any kills. It's just you're kind of dead in the water when your team tries to force a 5v5 or 4v4, and you're not there when the Ornn is able to TP or the Kali is able to TP and turn it.
Yeah, and Nautilus here overstepping a little hard. If any members of JJT were there, that was almost certainly his death, but playing a little bit aggressively, maybe too much for his own good, as we can see the members of JJT starting to file in, potentially looking to make a play happen on top of mid, but it looks like no, they're going to go for the Scuttle Crab instead. This bot tier 1 will fall in favor of JJT. We see all 3 towers of INS getting pressured here by JJT, making good use of this Baron. I see the pings come out. Oh my god, Bri, where did your HP go? As INS is here and they see this Akali, she has no shroud. She is almost certainly dead, as she will flash and R1. Oh, a 3-man Scatter of the Weak, but that almost certainly means that she is still dead. She's going to proc the GA on top of Xin Zhao, but Akali here still getting chased down. Hold that thought, as she will get exhausted. She will get hooked up by the Nautilus. The kick comes out, and there's a nice little shutdown onto Lee. Definitely some of the way you want this to go. As a Syndra did cost her life, but she was able to get that GA of Xin Zhao, and it's yeah, at least it's something. You don't want to trade your life for nothing. So there's a nice little play, as Nautilus here is circling behind this Ezreal. Ezreal needs to pay attention, as he could potentially get caught out here, as he is not paying attention and forced to flash over the wall after a True Shot barrage. A little bit of a questionable play, but INS here able to pick up so many flashes throughout this game, but they're not really able to punish them, so we'll have to see if they're going to be able to punish them going forward.
Yeah, Matt does get that shutdown, so he does. I think he had Core Trigger before it, but he's able to get that shutdown, so he actually hasn't come back gold, and maybe can build a little tanker to kind of survive those 1v1s against Xin Zhao, or trying to look for miracle dives like this. But it seems that JJT has just too much priority over the bot side jungle and knows where everyone is exactly, because they see the set and they know Syndra's mid. There's no need. They just know that this dragon is going to be safe, and now they have soul point, and it's going to be up to INS to kind of fight every single fight to make sure that they don't flip it and go for the Baron and end the game, or if they try and get that soul point, their Ornn just becomes way too strong for any of them to deal with, because Bride does not have enough damage or does not have the tankiness, and tries to ult to get away. Xin Zhao gets the knock up and they get the turn.
Yeah, we can see the fight coming out here with Scout of the Week, able to take down Zinzan. This is a nice little fight for INS. We can see the flash coming out from Hu. Ornn able to walk away, and it looks like INS will not be able to catch this, as, yep, the CC will come out, and they should smartly back and stop this, as Ezreal is walking through down. They see him on vision, the call of the Forge Gods coming out. The Ornhorn says this fight is not over, as they're going to look forward. Lee Sin gets kicked, or excuse me, hooked. As the True Shot Barrage comes out, we see Taco there just instantly getting the lead. The flash coming out from Ornn means that he is going to live just temporarily. As Ezreal having so much damage is going to be able to almost take out Matt, but not just yet, as Hu here is looking like he wants to run away. Matt could potentially, oh, he's going to go for the Ward Hop. We're going to wait for the Q. It looks like he will get the E slow, and we'll be able to dodge the hook. We could see if he's going to go for it. No, it looks like he's going to give it, but importantly in the top side, we did see the Akali, and she was able to take out that turret, and as a nice little counterplay for JJT to secure that losing play.
Yeah, pretty good fight from JJT. Kind of trying to find time just for that Akali to get that split push. Not the greatest split push, but you kind of secure the lead around the top side because you have all inner turrets and you have complete control of the of their jungle, and you have control of every objective because the Baron is coming up in 1 minute and 50 seconds. So it's going to be up to JJT to secure that by warding the inside of their topside jungle and just making sure that they can find any pick, because that Nautilus is not very strong and don't have that front line that they really need to keep that Caitlyn and Syndra going.
Yeah, and the front line of INS, like you said, is looking a little bit shaky. We can see Bright here just went for the Void of the Ring King first. That does mean it's going to be a little bit squishier. It's going to have some better damage on top of this Ornn, but is not going to be as tanky as a result of it. And Nautilus here is still a little bit of a pseudo tank. Does have the Locket completed and the Kindle Gem ready to go. But that does not mean he's going to be able to take as much damage as this Ornn. Especially with, we see Baron spawning in 1 minute, and JJT are really posing to get the vision early and make sure that INS are going to have a hard time contesting this, as we see the Dragon coming in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, as well as Hu here gets a nice little hook. We'll be able to animation cancel the Nautilus hook. And Nautilus here looking like he might be caught. He will be able to dodge out the W. The hook will come out, and that is going to knock up all members of JGT, but he's almost certainly dead. As the True Shot Barrage comes forward, and there's a nice little chunk on top of Syndra, and that's a free pickup for JGT.
Now it's just a matter of JJT trying to find those lanes and push them in to make sure that they get as much pressure on those inhibitor turrets, because they can just very easily turn around with that. Turn a fight into a 5v4 and get those easy dives because they're just so strong with that Ornn and the Mountain Soul, Mountain Dragon, and force the inhibitor down so they can just easily turn around. Or they just play it really slow here because now they have open inhibitor and they just get that inhibitor for free because they cannot be contested.
Yeah, and the hook, okay, nice hook coming out from Hu. The rest of the team does not want to follow. As we see all members of INS coming out of the base looking to protect this inhibitor. As they are positioning for this Baron, trying to get that inhibitor to free up the way for them to walk towards this Baron. As JJT really playing this respectfully, making sure that they're not just going to like coin flip this Baron. They're trying to get some pressure around it. As it looks like, as I say that, they are going to look to coin flip this Baron. As they're going to hop right on top of it. Ezreal there sitting in the mid lane is going to be walking towards the Baron now. And INS are looking like they've sniffed it out. They're going to start walking over and getting vision on top of this. And we'll have to see how they react.
Looks like Lee Sin might be just going for that suicide play because Akali is going in, getting in there to try and blow up Bang, but doesn't get that second E onto there. And it seems like Matt is just going for the steal. And he gets knocked up by the Baron Tentacle, canceling his Q over.
Oh, that is so sad. That's really not what you want to see if you're Matt. You had the steal ready to go. I think he even smited a little bit early, so you might have been able to secure it. But the Baron diff is coming in very strong, as Matt is now dead for another 30 seconds. The Mountain Dragon spawning in 30 seconds. This almost certainly means soul for JJT unless something goes horribly awry.
It seems like Baron is working for JJT there, just weighing all odds against INS to win this game. A 10k gold difference is going to be really tough to surmount, especially when it looks like JJT is going to be positioned to get that Dragon Soul for free.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how it goes for INS. The next opponent after this game is GME. He's almost certainly going to put up a harder fight than this JJT roster, and we'll have to see if INS can be able to pull this in for their first win. And a second win for JJT does mean that they are going to have a very good shot at playoffs, and we can see the Mountain Dragons started as the spam ping is on top of Thresh are a little bit awkward. Nautilus here tried to go on top of Akali, but she does have the Banshee's Veil to dissuade any type of engage. And the rest of JJT are now looking like they want to fight. They know that Bry is not there, and they're going to be looking to fight and try and force something here on this bot side. I see the Shiralas come out. Thresh here pulling out the lantern, really wants to go forward. Is he going to have enough? He does throw out the hook. It does go a little bit wide. And fortunately enough for them, it doesn't mean too much, as Zin's out here will get kicked and CC locked, but most importantly, he's not dying. The Surge Stage keeping him alive. As Bry here is doing his best to tank up damage, but he is just so squishy that he gets instantly deleted by the Ezreal. And Caitlyn going down as well. Nautilus next. We can almost certainly see Syndra coming down afterwards. As Ezreal was just walking forward, not a care in the world. And Ornn being the only member of his team who's like, okay guys, let's take the tower, as the rest of JJT are diving under the Nexus towers trying to get this kill on top of Lee Sin, as it will not go their way, and they'll get the inhibitor, but they have the Baron Wave, they have the Mountain Shield, and this should almost certainly spell the end as, ooh, nice little flash E missed from Akali. Nice for INS, but with two members, there's almost no way they can hold, as Syndra is forced to flash Lee Sin here, forced to protect and not able to go in, has no kick, has no Syndra ultimate. The best they can do is maybe proc Zinzao's GA, as Zinzao here goes in, is waiting for the Syndra to come out of stasis, will be able to pick her up as Lee Sin goes down as well, and that is a nice second win there for JJT.
Just like that to secure a second win, which means that they prevent the three-way tie from between INSCs and JJT Tech, and it would be very important to make sure that they don't have to play those extra games to even have a chance at their 6th place spot.
Yeah, and it's nice for JJT. It's a little bit of a peace of mind with the remaining games that they have. You know, their next game is versus Dab Nation, and the one after that is always Botdiv. So they do have a little bit more of a more difficult time, so picking up this win is pretty nice for them. But unfortunately for INS, still continuing this losing streak, not able to pick up their first win, as we are going to be going ahead and pulling them in here to get their thoughts and see what went wrong in that game. Alright, as we do have all members of INS in here now, unfortunately you guys were not able to pick up the win in that game. Although this one definitely looked a lot closer than the ABD game. Did you expect that it would be this close, or were you expecting a little bit more of it in your favor?
I think it should have been more in our favor, but it was. I think we showed more life in this game than the ABD's game for sure. But things just didn't go our way. I think we just lost too many fights they had just better advantage and better priority, and their collapse was just better than ours.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of an unfortunate game out from you guys. You guys still continuing this winless streak. I think your last game is up against GME. Do you think that you have a chance against taking a game off of them? Or?
Yeah, of course. Jay is a little trash at the game, so that's all I can say.
If you are able to pick up that one game and Cease does lose the rest of their games, you can get that tie for 6 and potentially make it into playoffs. So we will be rooting for you guys. Yep.
Even with JJT winning?
Yep. As long as Cease loses the rest of their games and you guys win versus GME, you have to play a tiebreaker versus them, and then you could potentially get in the playoffs. So,
okay, Cease.
I mean, no, I don't think so. Wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Because then Cease and INS would both be 1-6. No, 1-6, and JJT would be 2.
JJT 2 has 2 wins now.
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah,
was
yeah.
our
Yeah,
this
come
was
on,
our must-win
Stu.
game. This was our
Oh,
must-win
yeah.
game.
Come on,
Yeah.
Stu.
Yeah, my bad. The stats.
Dude, like,
unlucky. Well, unfortunately, it will mean that, you know, you're not going to be able to make it to the playoffs.
this freaking
Yo, my bad. Too many numbers, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the stats do be a lot.
Yeah, the stats do be living rent-free in my head. As unfortunately, you know, we still are hoping for that one win to match the
Oh,
one
we're
win
gonna get
from
it.
the last
Don't worry.
season.
No, we're gonna get it.
And I think, you know, some people were having some questions about your build. Brian, you want to explain a little bit why you went that Blade of the Rune King as opposed to like a little bit more of a tankier option?
Because I'm not a pussy.
I can respect that. You know, a little bit of some questionable reasoning, but we will accept it. And as you know, unfortunately, you guys were not able to make things happen this season. We'll have to see how you guys do in your final game, and we wish you all the best of luck in your next game.
Yeah, GG's.
Thanks, Stuart.
Thanks, Stuart.
I said we will be moving them out of here, and we will be moving the
Moving them all over the
rest.
place, it seems.
Yeah, I'm just moving them wherever as long as they're not here. As of now, we will be moving in JJT, the winners of this game. As we are just gonna go ahead and slide them over. Alright, as we get them all in here, and JJT, it's your second win of the season. You guys should have a pretty easy time in playoffs. You know, unless Cease win, then you will have to play a tiebreaker, I believe. Apparently, I'm terrible with the standings, so don't quote me on that. And, you know, how does this win mean for you guys? I mean, it's a pretty big win, right?
I mean, it was a must-win for sure.
It was definitely a must-win.
Definitely a
We
must-win.
came in with some things to prove against this team, and I think we did it well.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
definitely had a strong performance against them, showing a lot of expert macro, able to really guide this team around by the hand while you guys were pretty much playing proactive all game. I think this game went pretty well. You know, there were some uncharacteristic mistakes around the map, but nothing that can't be fixed in another 10 minutes in VOD review.
Of course.
That seems a little targeted, if you ask me.
It may be, as you know, you guys still have 2 games left against Always Bottiv and Dab Nation. And how do you guys feel about those games coming out of this one?
Easy. I guarantee both those are wins.
I don't know about that one.
I absolutely guarantee we win both those games.
Facts.
This team, I was surprised. Majestic went mid. After hyping herself up and bought so much and losing the LP earlier. Like, come on. Like, you played this. Come on. I don't know about that, but this win was this was probably the game I was looking forward to most, maybe this season, if not the ABD one. So this was a good win, and we're gonna get 2 more wins to end the season off, and we'll go into playoffs third.
Yeah, well, I do wish.
don't think you can get third, can you?
Can
I
they?
don't know, but we're gonna get third.
Yeah,
even if
they're
we-
gonna try. They're gonna try.
Yeah, we'll find a way.
They'll rig the standings if they have to. They will find a way to get third. As we do wish you guys the best and luck in that. You guys did have a strong showing today, and I'm hoping that this showing continues as our MVP vote is not finished, but it's looking pretty confidently in favor of Daniel. Having a nice showing here on the Zinzal. You have anything to say to your fans who voted for you?
I'd like to thank my man Leaf and Issy. They've been some of my biggest supporters this whole way through all the years of KDL. I just like to give a huge shout out to those guys.
Yeah, and a nice little shout out going out to them. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. As that should be pretty much all we have here from our side of the cast, and we'll be wishing you guys good luck, and hopefully you can pick up that 3rd place like you're hoping to, and we'll see you guys next time.
So yeah, shout outs to.
Yeah, get out of here. Alright, and that is going to be the completion of our games for today. I believe we're still in the process of scheduling a lot of the games for this week, but the next game that we have scheduled is Dab Nation versus Jujutsu Tech, July 8th at 11 o'clock at night at Eastern. So we'll go ahead and see you guys there. And thanks for picking up with us this game. I will go ahead and fix the channel points. And we'll be seeing you